Hello, this is Lynne Scott Haggerman. I think we're live, and I was waiting for the music to start. So for some reason, the music started and the music stopped. And so here we go. This is live. This is how it works live. God bless you all for being here. Let me tell you a little bit about me. Welcome back to the Lynne Scott Haggerman Podcast, where we never do know what might be said or done next. Praise God. In this show, truth has no filter. Freedom is our mission, and light exposes the darkness. I'm your host, Lynne Scott Haggerman. I am a survivor of child trafficking and medical experimentation at a U.S. university underground at the medical center in conjunction with our government through MK Ultra mind control. I am the voice they tried to silence, and I am silent no more. Today, I'm also an international award-winning human resource consultant and a marathoner, staying strong in mind, spirit, and body. Be sure to visit my websites, QGrit, the letter Q, the word grit, Grit. That the Q stands for quantum, in that God is going to go into every nook and cranny and shadow and corner to stop the child trafficking worldwide. Q Grit is after the John Wayne movie True Grit, where that little girl goes after the bad guys. It kind of resonates with the little girl in me who survived. So qgrit.org, that is my website that the Lord told me to create for his plan to rescue and provide aftercare for the little ones who've been trafficked, as well as for adults who are still trying to heal from any type of trauma. Also go to Live Younger with Lynne, LYNNE.com. I'm an independent distributor of LifeWave, where the X39 and Celergize enhance our stem cells. It is the wearable med bed. Also, my day job, I'm an international human resource consultant, and you can learn more about that at lynnehaggerman.com, LYNNEHAGGERMAN.com for my radio audience. Today's guest is Dr. Lynn Lafferty. I will say that we're having technical difficulties getting her on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and read her bio and get started. I'm confident in those of you who can pray for us. I would sincerely appreciate that now, to make sure that her microphone's working. Everything looks like it should be working, but it is not. And so today's topic is about our health. And it is about non-traditional healthcare that's available. And unfortunately, that topic can be squashed in favor of big pharma. So we'll have to see what happens, but I'm going to go ahead and proceed. If you have ever felt stuck in your health, bouncing from one treatment to the next without answers, today's episode may be the turning point you've been waiting for. My guest, Dr. Lynn Lafferty, Lynne, and her last name is Lafferty, Lafferty, is a naturopath, herbalist, nutritionist, pharmacist, and chef with decades of experience helping people. I see her backstage now. So God bless you for your prayers, patriots. This is how we win. We pray victory into situations, no matter how they look. So I'm going to bring her on in just a second. I'm going to read finish reading her bio. Well, as a matter of fact, she made it. Let's just welcome her, and then I will read her bio again while she's here. Dr. Lynn.
Thank you. I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you wonderfully. Praise God. I had everyone praying while you were gone. I know this topic is one that likely our Western healthcare system and big pharma is not popular. That's probably not their favorite topic. So who knows? But I have a beautiful bio that I have prepared for you. So I'll continue reading that for the audience, and then we'll jump in. So this is Dr. Lynn Lafferty, a naturopath, herbalist, nutritionist, pharmacist, and chef with decades of experience helping people identify the real causes and reasons behind illness and to restore balance naturally. She blends modern science with herbal wisdom, nutrition, and practical lifestyle changes to help you take control of your health. Today, we're going to explore how to uncover hidden health triggers, use food and herbs as medicine, strengthen the mind, body, spirit connection, and protect yourself in a toxic world. And we're Dr. Lynn and I are both, as you folks are, faith-based people, and so likely the spiritual warfare might enter our conversation. And you never do know. Dr. Lynn and I have had several conversations about MK Ultra, and that might come in every now and then. Um, the topics that we discussed today, these are the same investigative principles she teaches in her 10 class Become a Health Investigator program that's starting this September, and they could change how you approach your own healing journey. Welcome, Dr. Lynn Lafferty.
Well, thank you. It's always so wonderful to be here with you. I appreciate you inviting me today.
Well, you are very welcome. I know we have done a show in the past, and personally, so audience, you're going to watch me taking notes like crazy. I already have my paper ready because every time I talk to Dr. Lynn, she reveals so much that we are just never taught through our Western healthcare system, very natural ways. God created our bodies so that we can heal naturally. And Dr. Lynn, I'm looking forward to what you have to share with us today.
Well, today I just released my students. So I'm a professor at Nova Southeastern University, and I have a clinic where I deprescribe, and that's taking people off medication, and also usually use herbal remedies or diets and go back to the way my grandmother lived, who never took a drug and lived on a 150-acre farm and told me when I heard COVID, I remembered when I was probably about 8 going by our elderberry trees that nobody had died. She'd taken care of 20 people during the Spanish flu, where 1 in 4 were dying. And actually, my great grandmother, who lived in Buffalo, who'd come from Italy a couple of years before that, had died from the Spanish flu. But yet, 50 miles away on a farm, was my grandmother taking care of the neighbors with elderberry, and she said no one died and that our family never even got it. So she took care of the people and she never even got it. And
Wow.
so from that, and then also I was lucky enough as a child to have a physician who was probably 85 when I was a little girl. And he had graduated in 1897 from medical school. And
Wow.
he too used herbal things. When we would get sick, he'd give us a shot. I later found out that was adrenal tissue. And old doctors and even back in Hippocrates, they knew the adrenal gland was the cornerstone of the immune system. So I even remember when I was little asking my mother, could I please go to get a shot from Dr. Trinka? He had come over from Austria, had escaped Nazi Austria because he was Jewish. And because I always felt so much better, if you can imagine a little kid begging for a shot. And he would also give us licorice tablets. So if you go in the medical literature, you'll find so many bacteria and viruses, including COVID, that licorice root kills, not your candy, unfortunately. Most of the candy today, I don't even think has licorice in it, but um,
Probably a
yes,
bunch of chemicals, yes.
yeah.
And so, audience, just so you know, too, we're streaming live. And thank you to everyone who is watching. Thank you to people who are in the chat. God bless you for being here. And what you'll notice, so because we're also live streaming to YouTube, um, you're going to be hearing us also talk kind of quasi encode, in case different topics come up, so that way everyone stays safe on the YouTube platforms. But yes, you're right. I don't, you know, Dr. Lynn, with the food that we're being given, I know they call it food, but processed food is chemicals, and GMO, they call it food, but it's not really food, I don't think. So can you address those topics?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, GMO food stands for genetically modified food. So it's not the food that God made for our body, is really what it is. And within a plant, there's pesticides in a plant. they have their own chemical factory. Matter of fact, plants have more genes than human by quite a bit. So they have their own pharmacy for their own drugs. They have their own chemical factory to make um, insecticides and other things to keep the bugs away, or they have, if they want to keep, let's say, fungus away, they're able to do that. So they have to contain themselves. They also have communicating, like the trees have communicating chemicals in them. So if, let's say, locust was coming to eat all the trees, one of the trees could send a signal to the other trees to amp up that chemical in their body, in their trunk, and especially in the bark of the tree, and that would kill the bugs, or that the bugs couldn't attach to the tree. I mean, there's different ways. So the reason GMO food got first sold to us was, it said, well, we're going to take that, and this is how drugs were made, and most insecticides used to be made.
So, Dr. Lynn, your audio has stopped. I don't know if you can hear
It's
me
in
or
the
not.
plant.
There you are. You're back. So your audio, we missed the last.
You know what? Let me do this and see if this works better.
Okay. So we're just, no, I can't hear you at all that way. So it was better with the headset on. Yeah. So we're going to get this message out. I want to encourage all you listeners to start sharing this far and wide. Anytime I have technical difficulties, whenever I'm doing a show, that is usually because we're over target and there's information that's going to be released that the powers that be don't want we, the people, to know about. So, Dr. Lynn, how is your mic now?
Um, can you hear
Yep.
me? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. What part did I cut out at? So let me pick up there.
So I'll tell you where I'd like you to go back to is this was part of your presentation. You were a minute or two past talking about how the trees communicate with each other. Um, I have never heard that before. I believe it, but I've never heard about it.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit about that.
Well, they send out and by the way, so do the gut bacteria and yeast and everything in your gut communicate with each other. These things are so much smarter than we are, because they go
Wow.
with what they're supposed to be doing. Anyway, they send out chemical messages when one tree, let's see, gets bitten or whatever by a bug, or it starts getting eaten by a bug. It'll send a message out to other trees to amp up that insecticide in the tree. So they have these communicators that go out, chemical messages that go out amongst the trees and the plants.
That is interesting. And I absolutely believe that because that's frequency. And it's just like we don't know how our cell phones work, but they do, our laptops. How are we able to talk and communicate? There are frequencies happening all around that we just can't see, but we do know the result of. So you were telling us, you were talking about GMO and basically how GMO food is not God created food.
Right. So what they did was they sold it to the FDA. I mean, my brother was an organic farmer in the California Organic Farming Union or whatever, and we fought this back in the 80s. So they had this bright idea. Let's amp up in corn was the first thing. Let's amp up their glycoside that kills the bugs. Let's amp that up in the food. And then that way, we will not have to spray anymore. But because bugs are so much smarter than we are, they genetically modify themselves, and they now feed better probably off the glyphosate. And
Wow.
now I don't think that people are actually, all this gluten intolerance. I'm wondering, is it really true? Or is it because they're spraying with glyphosate, which is Roundup, or something like it, when the plant's little, when the plant's growing, and after they spray it after they've picked the plant, because it's also an antifungal. So it doesn't get fungus rot or something. It lasts longer. So that's basically what GMO food is. Now, interesting for me because I always go to a study, I think it's from 2012 that was done. It was 40 animal studies that they looked at. And the reason I have to go back there, because people say, how come you don't have a newer study, Well, I found one. Oh, GMO is great by the head, dean of a big university. Oh, yeah, and by the way, they got 50 million from the company that makes the GMO food like the year before. So they're not going to say that GMO is bad for $50 million.
Right.
So anyway, but the animal studies showed it increased lesions, pancreatic cancer, and I believe kidney issues, killed bacteria in your gut, which of course, if you're putting more poison, that would make sense. And so all of these problems, and I really wonder because I remember when I was doing rounds at Medical College of Georgia, my last year of school, and I was at we had a pancreatic cancer case, and they said, "Oh my gosh, we've never seen one before. Only severe alcoholics get this." And they were asking, and this is really important too, go to the medical library and go find out, is there something we're missing? Did something come out on pancreatic cancer we're missing? They don't do that anymore. They go by, okay, this is what the government says, like Dr. Fauci. That's what he says to give. So that's what we're going to do. Don't go to the medical library, which I did and found actually coronavirus, a different strain, hit a nursing home in Louisiana in 2015. And guess what? They extracted in alcohol the elderberry, like my grandmother did, and nobody died or went into the hospital from the nursing home from that coronavirus. So that's what I did. I went and had here at the university, I had a company make that for me, just like it was in the medical literature. It's not FDA approved, but guess what? I looked in the medical literature. This is real science. And I had this made. Now, fortunately, herbs are looked out at as food. So it's fine, but this would be something that they'd say, well, it's not FDA approved. You have to go by our way of doing things.
Which I don't think that there's, of course, any supplements that are FDA approved. But I'd also like you to talk about the deprescribing medications. Um, that I know that that's something that is just near and dear to your heart. So tell me how that process works.
Well, the way it works here is you come with your labs, you come with your medications and what your problems are and what side effects you're having, and then we look at. And I'll give you a great example of a horrible medication that's OTC now. I've written about this in the medical literature actually and had it published. Is the proton pump inhibitor, things like omeprazole or omeprazole, those drugs, and they're called the proton pump inhibitors. If you look in the package insert, it'll say use it between 4 and 8 weeks. The only approved FDA disease is Barrett's esophagitis, which I've only seen one patient have. So people do get that, but anyway. So most of my patients have been on it for 8 years that come in. Why? Because the doctors aren't given anything else to give. They don't learn about aloe vera. I have a PDR here from 1979. 12 companies made digestive enzymes that were prescription that doctors prescribed because as you age, you lose your digestive enzymes. So doesn't it make sense to give natural digestive enzymes back to your body and that will work? But when you give proton pump inhibitors, you cut your B12 off, you cut off calcium, and it shows actually many more people get broken bones. You also cut off stomach acid is the first line of defense in the immune system. So now you're getting pathogens like worms and I mean, everybody says everybody's got parasites. But all of these bad bacteria and everything get through because they're not being killed by your stomach acid. And we see much more what they call C. diff or Clostridium difficile. And about 14,000 people a year die from that. It's a very severe GI infection. All of this is so when you don't have B12, this translates into more heart attacks and more brain problems and dementias and Alzheimer's. So there's many warnings in that package insert about that, and that's why they say only use it for 8 weeks. So what sometimes if people are on it, I had one lady on it 12 years. It took me about a year and a half to get her off from those totally because they're sometimes very difficult to get off. And what happens if people just stop them, like if you're taking it right now and you just stop it, you're not going to be happy because you will get rebound reflux and it's going to be worse than what you had before. You have to put people on digestive enzymes and some other things to repair their GI tract, and then you start taking yourself off from them. Now, I usually like to work with physicians with that because I like them to make a liquid version of the proton pump inhibitor with a compounding pharmacy so I can titrate it down. But, you're a sovereign citizen, so you have the right to do that. But after you put yourself on some digestive enzymes and things to help you and to also repair your stomach burning and all that, then you very slowly, there's ways to take yourself off from those drugs.
Which I like your idea there too. The last time that you and I talked, I was using my example how the only medication that I'm on is thyroid for underactive thyroid, and I've been on it as long as I can remember. But I would really like to stop taking prescription medicine if at all possible. And but I know you can't just cold turkey something, that there must be a process, I would think, with all medications where you would also be working in conjunction with your doctor to start weaning off and maybe doing tests or something as you're trying to come off. I would assume that's part of the deprescribing.
Yes, and honestly, most diseases have nothing to do with what it's called, like low thyroid. It has probably absolutely nothing to do with your thyroid. Your thyroid, I would guess in 99% of people, it's just fine. What it is, we're talking about your thyroid hormone being low. Now, you have to first ask, how do I make that? Maybe it's low because I don't have the building blocks. You can't build a house without the wood and the foundation and all of that. So you cannot build thyroid hormone unless you have iodine available. So that's number one. And it's very easy to figure that out. You just take your wrist here and put a little patch of colored iodine and wait a day and keep looking at it every 4 or 5 hours and see how much it disappears, because the faster it disappears is the more the body needs it. It'll soak it in because that's an old naturopathic treatment back when people had goiters because of lack of iodine. Today, they don't have goiters. They call them nodules because they have scans to see that happening. And all they do is remove it, not thinking, oh, maybe the person is deficient in iodine while they're growing a nodule. Okay.
Okay.
So that's the first thing I do with hypothyroid. Number two, I have a survey I do about, does your liver need to be detoxed? So there's questions like, do you have itching? Do you, about your digestion? There's a lot of questions you can ask about if um, you have to detox your liver, because T4, which is 4 iodine, go into your active, which is T3, and you have to have an enzyme called the deiodase enzyme that'll take that iodine off. That actually mostly comes from your liver. So most of the I see a lot of times after a liver detoxification, most times people, I would say 50 to 60%, between that and the iodine, let's say 80%, they don't have hypothyroid. Their livers were congested, which most of us are as we get older. And then the other part of that was the iodine. Now, there's few other things too to make that and to make it work. That enzyme, you have to have manganese, you have to have selenium. We're usually low on those two, especially selenium. So that is a piece of it. And then another piece of that puzzle is, are you under stress? If you're under so much stress when you're in fight or flight from your adrenal gland, the adrenal gland is very powerful. It's your energy center, and it'll stop things from working, like your digestion. Usually if you're under a lot of stress, you're not hungry or you don't digest your food well, because it says, I don't need to digest. I don't need to metabolism. I mean, thyroid is a big part of metabolism. I don't need iodine. I mean, I don't need thyroid hormone right now for metabolism. I just need for the blood to go to, for my heart to, to beat faster. I need my lungs to dilate to bring in more oxygen to the blood. And I need all that to go to my muscles so I can run away from that bear chasing me. I mean, that's how your body's programmed.
Right.
So if you're under fight or flight for a constant period of time, it doesn't do this in the short run. I mean, but if it's 24/7 for years, what will happen, it will start producing what they call reverse T3, which actually blocks your thyroid hormone from working. So then you do have to take the pig thyroid, the more natural thyroid, to reverse that piece. Now, the last thing is with a low thyroid or high thyroid too, is, do you have a autoimmune disease? Now, you have to get lab work for that. You get a what they call TPO, which is thyroid peroxidase, and you get thyroid antibody tests. If that comes back positive, then you know it's probably from a bacteria called Yersinia enterococca. It's in the medical literature. Most people that have thyroid infections like that, it's from that. And there are natural antibiotics that kill that. Plus, you need to build up your immune system with immune builders. But a lot of doctors will not even test for that because they don't have anything they can do for it. So sometimes they'll give you a hard time about testing. They go, well, I'm not testing it. There's nothing we can do about it. I always say that's in their world because they have a programmed reality and they don't know a thing about anything that I've just talked about, unless you're here at my medical school where I teach the residents and the pharmacy and the
Right.
medical students. But most of them don't know anything about any word that I've just said.
Which is why I love interviewing you, because I can just tell in the spirit, Dr. Lynn, when you speak, this is truth and this is reality. And I know that you have a course coming up. I checked your website and the content of the classes. I know you have 10 classes coming up. Now, the date is still from your March. Everyone
Oh,
Meet
okay.
Grace.
Well, thanks for telling me.
Yes.
I did actually change it to October 5th will be the
Okay.
first course.
Okay.
And you're a partner with me, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah.
But why I'm so excited about this course, so 8 ounces here of the elderberry, I was telling you was so good, costs about $200. But you can make it at home, uh, you know, with organic um, vodka and organic elderberries yourself for, pennies on the dollar. So it's I w- so I was so frustrated with what I was hearing from people from COVID. I had, especially my older patients, calling. Right before COVID, I'm so scared. I'm going to die. I'm hearing it on TV. I don't know what to do. You know, that's going to kill them. Stress is the biggest killer there is. So I did this face. Somebody said, why don't you do a Facebook Live? So I told them, look, zinc and mostly you have to be on zinc and you have to be on vitamin D. Those are two of the biggest immune builders and blockers of virus, zinc. Those two things you have to be on. And then I put them on an immune builder. Most of my patients didn't even get it. And the patients that had it and took the elderberry, it didn't really last more than 3 days. Not one went to the hospital or anything like that. So, and these used to be called, by the way, clinical pearls. And they don't have those anymore because it got 100% replaced with this evidence based medicine, which is only what they want to find the evidence for.
I love the idea of, you mentioned herbs and the alcohol. I probably 2 or 3 years ago, God asked me to start an herbal garden. I'd never done such a thing in my life, no idea what I was doing, but He asked me. Anytime He asked me, I'm all in because wonderful things will happen. And so I researched it. I got raised garden beds. I got great soil, organic, everything, the best seeds. And I went about raising herbs. And once the herbs were raised, then He told me to make tinctures. I had never heard that word in my life. Tinctures. It's even fun to say. No idea what it was. So I researched it. Next thing you know, Dr. Lynn, I am taking all kinds of herbs to replace every over-the-counter medicine that there is. And I have 44 jars of quart jars of tinctures now in
Wow.
my closet.
I need to come see that. You'll have to show me that. Take a
I
picture and
know.
send it to me.
I was tincturing. Yeah, I will send you a picture. I was tincturing everything. I was astounded at this, and I it was funny because I don't drink, and I went to buy all this vodka. So I had a cart full of vodka, and people were just staring at me. It's like, oh my goodness, and they're like, wedding. Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, I just, but yeah, 44 jars of quart tinctures, and what it's going to be used for. I'm sure the Lord's going to bring me people that need that. Once we keep discovering what's in some of the over the counter medications, I think more and more people will start looking for alternatives to that sort of thing to take. But yeah, so I love it when you're talking about, elderberry and yeah, tinctures.
Yeah, and you don't have to, if you don't, those of you in the audience who don't want alcohol, you can just simply take the amount you're supposed to and put it in a cup of hot water, and that alcohol will burn off. So you can take it that way. It's just that the alcohol actually is the best way to get the medicinal properties out of those plants. So, and or you can do a glycerin extraction. It's not quite as good, or you can take and burn it off and then put it in glycerin. I mean, there's many different ways, and glycerin is sweet, so the kids like it better that way. I have a booklet on how that's part of the course on how to make a lot of those, including
Oh,
like three prescription um, ear things that. So, for instance, olive oil used to be a prescription that we'd see a lot from in ears, nose, and throat doctors because it's very antiviral. Olive leaf extract is one of my favorite things for kids. It's so gentle, but it's such a powerful antiviral for colds and flu and coronavirus. And so anyway, it teaches you how to make those different eardrops. One eardrop is it costs you less than $1 to make. And that I don't know how well, let me say maybe it's $2 or $3. You have to get a dropper bottle. So that probably is by far the ingredients cost about 5 cents. Let me put it that way.
yeah, yeah.
But that's a $40 prescription drug here. So there's so many different things in the book of how to make it. Also, I have a whole book. It's so beautiful. I love it because it's got so many beautiful pictures of the plants and foods and things for every vitamin. Because when you take a vitamin from a plant or an animal, it's such a higher level of vitamin, especially from animals. I wish for my vegans it was from the plants, but they're not exactly the same as humans. But animals, they have to make the vitamin that's the exact vitamin that we need in our body. And it's really interesting, again, in this physician desk reference from 1979, that's every prescription drug. One of the biggest pharmaceutical company actually at the time, they made a whole line of prescription vitamins,
Hmm.
and all of them had cow liver in them. And there were many different cow liver. There was Doan's liver pills back then. There was something called Geritol that was liquid, and it was made with liver. So, and I think it might have had other organs in it as well. I'm not sure about that. So, they've known the higher level of vitamin comes from that, and the liver stores why they use liver usually is the liver stores the B vitamins in it. So that's something else too. And you're talking about that. I am on a rage right now of canning. I
Oh,
just love canning. I'm canning every weekend. I'm trying to can something. I love pickled beets are my very favorite thing. But it's so cool because being able to I'm a subscription to an organic beef place, so you get it cheaper, or some of you might even buy a quarter or half of a cow or something like that. And then making your food like chilies and vegetable beef soup and stews or Swiss steak or all of that. And then when you eat it, it tastes like it just came out of the pot or out of the oven. And it's amazing the taste of it, of just how delicious it is. And you're storing it in glass. I mean, that's what they've done for hundreds of years is use glass. There was no plastics before, I think, 1960s. So,
well, exactly. And I was reading on social media recently about chicken that is bought at the supermarket. And they talked about, and I'm not going to get the fancy words right, but I got the gist of it. Whenever chickens are processed, they're washed in a chemical bath, and 10% of these chemicals are allowed to stay in the chickens. And according to the rules and regulations of, I'm assuming, the FDA, that no one has to report that as long as it's 10% and no higher. And so the bottom line was, when we take chicken out of the packaging, all the water that comes out is not like chicken juice, if there's such a thing. It's this chemical wash um, in the processing. So I just, and whatever chemical they mentioned, Dr. Lynn, was not a good thing. I can't remember what
yeah,
it was,
never is.
but
It
it
never
wasn't,
is a good thing.
it was a
Salt
harmful
would be
thing.
good. The salt is what you should be using to wash your meat with, but yeah.
So I love the idea of trying to go more local, because I just, we don't know what they're putting in this food, and it's appalling. But we don't know.
No, and I actually, my students didn't report on this, but I had them do some research yesterday on this lab made food. I mean, one of the websites reported it's from a cancer cell line that they're making it from.
What?
Yeah. I don't know that it's true, so I don't wanna talk much about
Okay.
it because I asked them to look into it, and I had to let them go because it was storming so
Yeah,
bad and lightning here, so I didn't want them to be in the middle of a really bad storm, so,
okay.
I didn't get from them. I'll know tomorrow, and we'll know if you take the class, you'll know more, but in the class, yeah, I'll answer medical questions like what you have in the
Yeah,
class.
yeah.
I give you a book on the vitamins, what foods. I give you refrigerator lists. I take you through different appliances I have, like your blender, your juicer, all different, and give you all sorts of recipes there to make. I have a highly antimicrobial, Italian salad dressing. I mean, garlic, basil, oregano, all those things are so antimicrobial. Vinegar and oil, all of those things can stop infections. So, and you can leave that out. You can put all the fresh stuff in it, and it'll kind of wilt in the jar, but it doesn't become molded or anything. You can eat that as long as you keep it the oil kind of dark. That's the one thing you have to worry about. But as long as you put it in a dark jar and keep it kind of cool in a dark place, it's good for forever. So you'll be learning all of these types of thing, and who knows, maybe I'll add a canning video or two if I can get somebody to record it for me.
I'm sure you can. Just turn your camera on selfie and hit record. What I just I personally love this for many reasons, but one reason is I know my audience is very well aware that we are living in very corrupt cabal systems, and one way to victory, these systems are not of the Lord. And one way to victory is to do our best to slowly remove ourselves out of the cabal deep state system into God's systems. And He made our bodies to self heal, and He gave us all types of plants and herbs already to help us with this. And I think that the more, Hosea 3, I can't remember the verse, my people perish for lack of knowledge. And ever since, 2020 is the time of, I think the beginning of the Great Awakening, when people were, and, me included, kind of asleep and slumbering and going about our day to day and not realizing that we weren't really living in a world that we are living in. Things are not as they appear. And the more that we can leave the systems and get onto healthy paths, I believe that we have long lives ahead of ourselves once we work on our temple of God.
Absolutely. I just did a prayer and meditation with my students because one of my students, she was just told that they wouldn't take for her rent her loan money for the university. And she's driving with her child and her mother from Airbnb to Airbnb. So I stopped everything. I said, let's do a prayer for her, you know?
Yeah.
And I just know that God is going to help her really quickly. And I think I told you I've been watching The Chosen, and I can't stop watching it. And a lot of it, I don't. It's they've made up stories of some of the stories in it are probably not true, not anything about Jesus's teachings, but just it's kind of fun about the what the disciples were going through, or stuff that's not exactly in the Bible. But anyway, but just to hear Jesus tell us over and over and over and over and over again in his gospels is faith. Have faith. You can move a mountain.
Yes.
Or when the one who didn't believe in their God, our God, and who from Rome, and he got down on his knees and said, "Please heal my sick son." And he said, "Okay, I will. I'll go to your home." No, no, no. You don't even have to do that. I know you can heal right here. And he turned to his disciples. Look at this man. He has more faith in what I can do than any of you do. So
Yes.
over and over and over, ask and you shall receive. Open your heart, knock on the door. I say to my students, we are our own worst enemies. Oh, I would love to do this job. Oh, but I can't. I'm not old enough. I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm black. I'm white. I'm thin. I'm fat. I'm this. I'm that. We are stopping ourselves. And anything that's when we talk about lack, and I think Jesus talked about there will be poor always. To me, he was talking about the poor in mind, because
Mm.
anybody who
Amen.
doesn't believe that God can heal you, or doesn't believe that God can make a house from nothing, because God made all of this from nothing. And
Right.
he's in every cell in the body. And I was talking to another doctor who she was my boss at one time, and I consider her, she's an older doctor than me even, and she's so smart, and I love having lunch with her, and she's also a Christian. And we talk about when people don't believe. But what I was asking her, I said, I really firmly believe, I said, I want to know what you think. I think that you die when you die, you I said, I can feel when somebody comes in, they want to die,
Oh,
and she said, yeah, I feel that too. And she said, I definitely think, I said, because, we see all the time, people should have died a week ago, but their son is still stuck in Alaska in a igloo or something and can't get out. And
right.
they live until he
Yeah.
gets there. And
Yes.
then after they've said goodbye, then boom, they're in 10 minutes, they're dead.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not, I'm not trying to laugh about it, but I'm saying
Yeah.
it shows you that God is there till the last breath with you. And if
Yes.
you say, God, I want another week, I have to see of course you can have another week. It's
Yes.
just amazing. I had a woman that came in, she was emaciated, and she knew I did prayer treatments, and she had cancer. And I said to her, well, you co-create your life with God. I said, why are you not asking to live? Why are you creating this? I'm not. And she got very angry. She goes, I can do the prayer. I'm very spiritual. I said, but why are you co-creating this? I'm not. Well, when I got her angry, you tie up the conscious mind. So if she was getting mad at me because I kept saying it,
Yeah.
I wanted her just to tie up her ego and her mind for just a second, because I wanted her to hear the truth, because the truth is always in the subconscious mind. I said, how's your relationship with your husband? I hate him. I want out. I've been with that man 30 years. I want out.
Wow.
She gave herself the answer.
Wow. Wow, Dr. Lynn. That's powerful.
It was very powerful, and she was dead within a couple of weeks. And on the other hand, I see people who I have a man now from here. He has something called tuberous sclerosis type 2, and it's a genetic disease. They get little potato tubers in their head, like it's not made from potatoes, it's made from their skin,
Sure.
in their head, and then they turn to cancer and they die young. And he was having seizures, and he was on a drug called Keppra, and he said, do you have anything for seizures? He said, I get seizures a couple times a week. I have this genetically disease. I'm supposed to die. I just had a baby, and I really would love to live to see my daughter graduate.
Oh,
And I said, I don't know a thing about this disease, but I will by the time you get here. So I asked the residents to go find out, and they said yes, just everything he said. And because he said the drug was like a demon drug. He said I was angry all the time, and I listened to demon music. He said, and so I said, okay, residents, find me what protein he's not making, because in a genetic disease, you're not making a protein properly, or you're not making enough of it, or you're not making it. So they said, well, Dr. Lafferty, it's called tuberlin, and and it makes the tubers. If you don't make the tuberlin, you get the tubers. I go, okay. Now go see, is it in a plant or an animal? And they said, well, Dr. Lafferty, it's in a very high in pig brain. I said, guess what I got? I got
yeah.
pig brain tablets. What?
Right.
They were like, yeah. Do you know this young man? I haven't even heard from him in the last 4 years, but I know he's doing well because he works here.
Wow. Praise God.
Yeah, and after 4 years, he hasn't had a seizure. Last time I saw him was like 3 or 4 years ago. He hadn't had a seizure. But 4 years after the treatment, he went and got an MRI. Now, of course, I was hoping those tubers would have shrunk. They didn't shrink, but they didn't even grow a millimeter. They were like suspended.
Wow.
So, and I'm doing that same type of thing. I believe it's called Bright's disease. I can't remember. It started with a B. And this little boy's going blind. And
Oh,
he, because of a different protein, but they found that's high in pig brain. And I also have pig eye tablets. And the mother said to me, it's been about 2 or 3 months into the treatment. She said, I can't believe it. I don't even wanna acknowledge it, but I know he saw something that he never would have seen 2 or 3
oh,
months ago. So, pray
praise
for him.
God.
I pray also that, but, they are a very strong Christian family, and, wouldn't it be wonderful?
It would be wonderful. So, audience, we have a few thousand people watching now. We're going to take a quick commercial break and be
Please
right
ask
back.
questions. Does the audience ask questions
They
or not?
can. So, we'll have people bring
Alright.
we'll take a break for 1 to 2 minutes and put your questions in chat, and we'll ask Dr. Lynn.
Life empowered is closer than you think. We're all looking for a better way. Reimagine what's next with a new sense of exuberance. Why not power on like you mean it? Or power off blissfully? A better sleep is a better awake. You've never moved like this before. With the energy nature intended. Imagine reprogramming the way you look at the speed of science, at longevity, at exhilaration. It's next level rejuvenation. Take control of your well-being from the inside out and outside in. The light within is ready to ignite. Be the light. LifeWave.
And that is LifeWave, where the X39 and the Celergize enhance and regenerate our stem cells. It is the wearable med bed. Welcome back, Dr. Lynn. I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. We probably have about 15 minutes left. Question: what is the number one disease that you help people with, and how do you go about doing it?
Probably the number one disease would be autoimmune, which is not fake, phony, and false. There is no autoimmune as they describe where the body makes a mistake. Uh, ask Chat GPT, what is autoimmune? And they'll say it's where the body mistakenly attacks itself. And then ask, is a body programmed to make a mistake? Does God make a mistake? And it goes, no, it doesn't. And
Wow,
then I ask, "Well, why are you saying it?" And he goes, "'Cause it's in the general knowledge. I'm just repeating what's they've told you that's fake." So
wow,
many things. That goes back to God again, right?
right,
We're listening to this stuff. I never heard of Alzheimer's. I never heard of autism. I never heard of autoimmune disease when I was in school. Now, why is it I never heard of any of this stuff before? 'Cause
right,
it's not true. Now people had rheumatoid arthritis. Why did they have it back then? Most people that got what they're called autoimmune diseases back in the 80s or 90s were all postmenopausal or premenopausal women. Why is that? Because your immune system is so tied to your hormones. And with a woman, every day our hormones are changing. So we're really, really affected by our hormones more than men are. And so 95% of people that get MS and rheumatoid arthritis and are women. And it's because our immune system isn't working like it should. It's not strong enough. And you're also because you're not seeing what the cause is of that autoimmune disease, there's nothing you're doing about ameliorating that cause. Because if you look, let's say Harvard, I do this, I know this almost by heart because it's my first thing I show my students. We go to Harvard, we look up autoimmune or rheumatoid arthritis, and it just says, it just gets worse and worse. I mean, the description is like from the devil, really. I mean,
Yeah.
you're heat and hot and burning up, and your
Witchcraft.
bones are getting misshapen and all these things.
Yeah.
So, and then if you put in, and you all can do this at home, and this is why it's called Become Your Own Health Investigator. I teach you how to look all this stuff up yourself. It's not, I mean, I'm not, everybody thinks I'm a genius. I'm really not. I just do
Sound like
what
a
I was
genius.
trained to do in school, and just put in Epstein-Barr virus and rheumatoid arthritis or MS. There's 5,000 studies that say it causes rheumatoid arthritis. Now, and if you have any autoimmune disease and you had Epstein-Barr virus, which is mono, and you as a woman, you're much more likely to get MS, rheumatoid arthritis, even cancers. So, I told a patient, it was a man, it looked like he had like pre-MS to me. I don't know, maybe he didn't, but it looked like it to me. So I asked him, did you have mono? He said, yeah. I said, the next time you go to the doctor, get it tested if you have Epstein-Barr virus. And he said, I will. And the doctor said, well, I'm going to test it, but I don't know why you would test it. There's nothing you can do about it. I go, that's in his world.
Yeah.
So there's many herbs that kill it and immune builders that you have to take. You can beat these things. I've seen it done. I mean, our rheumatologist, I work very closely with our rheumatologist here. He's very open to what I do. He said, just don't cure everyone, save a patient here and there. But that's probably my biggest thing, and really like to get the message out because those diseases are so horrible. And again, it goes back to your mind. I had a lady and she had MS. And as a matter of fact, I worked with a physician because I wanted him to prescribe estra, estriol because there was some information that maybe a type of estrogen helped it. But anyway, her left leg in particular, both of her legs, she wore shorts every time she came to see me, were full of scabs. And this is either, a parasite, a bacteria, virus trying to get out of the body. And she said to me, she said, I know I'm getting better, but what if I'm not? And I go, well, let me tell you how you know that you're getting better and you don't have to worry you're not, you know. But that's what the mind can play because she's still going to the MS group and she's telling them, I'm getting better. And they're all going, you can't be getting better. And no, I don't want to see that doctor. Like, I don't want to get better. That's basically what they're saying. And I tell the students too, they go, why don't they come to see you? I don't understand. And I said, you know what? People who need to see me or they're going to get better, they're going to come. I said, a lot of people get things out of being sick. They get a lot of attention.
Mm.
They get to stand in line first. I mean, I don't know what goes on people's heads, what they're programmed with. But anyway, I said to her, you know why? I said, that leg of yours is clear except one spot. She said, well, that's the leg I have the MS in. I said, of course it is, because all those parasites kept trying to come out, but they kept multiplying because we weren't using something to kill them because doctors aren't told you can kill them. So it's so convenient, isn't it? To not teach biochemistry in medical school anymore, not teach physiology, how the body works, not
Yeah.
teach pharmacology so they could understand how a natural antibiotic would work. And most antibiotics come from natural sources. They don't know any of these things and not taught how to go to the library like I was anymore. So now they call everything autoimmune. The body's just making a mistake. God doesn't make a mistake. Your body isn't making a mistake. It's trying to get rid of that Epstein-Barr or those bacteria, and it can't because you keep giving those bacteria back from your gut or you're feeding in some way the parasites or people say a lot about parasites. I see more literature on like Epstein-Barr causing cancers and stuff like that. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. The microbes, there is something there. The body's working. It's trying to get rid of it. You keep introducing and having bad food or bad gut bacteria or whatever you have, and you're not trying to get rid of it, and it just keeps coming, and the immune system can only do so much. As we age, it's just like our hormones go down, our digestive enzymes go down. Say you have to save your money for a lot of supplements for you young people out there when you get older. Like, it's important.
Well, and just as a caveat, good supplements, because
Yeah.
there are no regulations on supplements. Not that in my book that actually means anything, but nonetheless, there aren't. And so I know, for example, there have been so many stories coming out about products sold on Amazon that aren't real, Chinese knockoffs. And anyone can say that certain supplements are certain things and do certain things, but there's zero guarantee that what is in those capsules are what they say. So you really, and there's just a lot. And I'll give you a perfect example from another line. I needed to do weed barrier. And so I went on Amazon. I bought the one with the highest rating. Well, guess where Lynn has weeds everywhere? Where the weed barrier is. I have a disaster in my home, around my home, because whatever I put down was not weed barrier. So they must have copied and pasted reviews from all kinds of other places, sold. It's not weed barrier. So we actually have no idea what we're buying, all these Chinese knockoffs. But the worst of all, I mean, weed barrier is fixable. But we're talking about things that we ingest and put inside our body. And so supplements, I know that there are a couple of places that you recommend, and I'm sure that there are several good places. Supplements are important. I'm just recommending to people be very, very careful who you purchase from, because just because it says supplement doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, totally agree. And people don't realize most of the vitamins, like the one another I use a lot of standard process, I'll just say it. And their iron has 10 milligrams, it says, of iron, but it's all food in there. It's different types of plants and animal tissue. You go off the shelf here. First of all, it's much heavier. And I asked the students, what's the number one complaint we get in a pharmacy from an OTC drug? And it's from iron. Because when you feel it, it's so much heavier because basically it's an enteric coated frying pan. Now, how much would you like to swallow a little piece of a frying pan? That's why they get sick. They don't take iron. So then also they've got red dye. No, it wasn't red dye, yellow dye and blue dye in that. Yellow number 5 and I think blue number 2 or whatever. And looking in online, they cause cancer, ADHD, brain issues, whatever. It- And they put that in for no real reason, and other chemicals in there. So you want to get your vitamins from your food or from a whole food manufacturing place, and also your herbs. I'm on Standard Process. I've been to their farm and seen probably 10 times their research. Their millions of dollars of research they put in. And also another company that I've worked with, it's called Nature's Answer. I said, I can't be on your advisory board. I've got to see where the herb comes from, what part of the plant you're using. I want to see your manufacturing, the way you're doing it. It's much smaller. But what I love about those two companies is they are both family owned. So, like Standard Process, the man says, I've got my own airplane and my own boat, and I'm happy because he's like a hunter fisher guy. He goes, I'm
Yeah.
happy with what I got. Nothing can make me happier than hearing people feeling better or getting better from the supplement. And PS, by the way, this is what my whole family's taking. So you better believe when I put, broccoli, I want the best broccoli in my pill. I don't care how much it costs. That's what I want for myself. And that's the same thing with this other company that's family owned. They want the best. They take their own stuff. So they want the best for themselves because money can't buy you health. When you get older, you learn that. that, if I have to go buy organic food and not have new shoes, I'm good with that. I'll go buy used shoes, whatever it is, because your health is everything. So,
Amen. Amen. So, in the time that we have left, would you share anything else you'd like to say about the courses that are coming up, as well as how can people reach you?
right. Go to DRLYNNLAFFERTY.com. I have a couple of incredible free courses. One with a doctor who's in the book, 100 Best Doctors in America. And she and I talk about the immune system. We talk about what vitamin D, zinc, all these things are. Number 2, I have another with one who I think's the best DO, one of the best, osteopathic doctors, an MD, who's a head of integrative medicine here, and then myself as a naturopath, talking about how those different roots of medicine, integrative medicine, can work together, and what it means for you as a patient. I think you'll find both of those, and I also have recipes and blogs, so there's a lot of free things. And then the course is 20 hours. Like I said, you get all these books on how to make remedies and also videos of me making them. And, if you have a real hardship case, email me and write me. I want people to get this. People are always saying it's so cheap, $150. But if you put Lynn 25, LYNNE, I also have LYNN because if some of people probably make a mistake and I still want you to have the money. So anyway, if you have that, you put that in, you get $25 off. So, and she gets $25. And I am happy because my whole thing is I just want to get this information out because honestly, I have 2 books I'm trying to get done so desperately. And after that, I want to teach people how to pray and how to feel because our power of prayer comes with our emotion. When there's a dictator that comes by or there's communism, what's the first thing they do? They shut down the church. They shut down our prayer. They shut down our voice. What did they do in California during COVID while they let strip clubs open? They closed every church. There is a reason for that because the other side knows the power of prayer. They know
Amen.
when we pray together, when our frequency is together, none of this matters. None of this
Amen.
fake food matters. God will bring you the healing plant. I had a lady next door to me and she kept taking chemo for 10 years and probably didn't even have breast cancer. But guess what? She thought she had breast cancer. The tree that we know that's the best for breast cancer was growing 10 feet from her door.
Oh,
God
Dr. Lynn.
medicine right in front of your face. If
Wow.
you live in Alaska, you won't find a tree for malaria to cure malaria because there's no malaria. It's where there's malaria is where the trees are to cure malaria. So
Wow.
anyway,
This is the God we serve. I mean, Dr. Lynn, this is the God we serve. I love that story. And you know what? I'm sitting there thinking about my weeds, and I have apps where I can take pictures and see what the plants are. This might actually be something for more tinctures that, it's the Bible talks about in all things give thanks. Well, this might be something that the Lord's bringing. Absolutely love your message.
well, dandelion, everybody's trying to kill it, and it's one of the best liver cleansers. My Italian grandfather, I remember out digging up the dandelions, and I said, Grandpa, why are you doing that? And he goes, because we're doing our spring cleaning. So he put some good olive oil, garlic, and took those greens, and that's what we had for our supper. So, all the old people knew so much more than we do. And we've got to bring that back and we've got to get people that motivation, get that God spirit back into us because they've done everything, our food, their air, COVID, and we're still alive and we're still telling the truth.
Yes.
So anyway, I
Amen.
really want to do that. My next thing, might probably be my last class of this. It'll always be recorded, by the way. You'll have this class forever and all these materials. You have a portfolio. Well, I say forever as long as the the websites are still up. You'll have it forever, but you can
Amen.
download the lectures too. I think you have the ability to do that. So,
Okay.
they're yours to keep listening to and take notes with, and it's just like a course here at the university. So anyway, I hope a lot of you sign up, because I really need for you to do that, so I can move on, so we can all start praying and get rid of some of this really dark stuff around us.
Amen. So your first class starts October 5th. And is that
Sunday,
Sunday?
October 5th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time.
And how long does a class last? Is it an hour or 2 hours?
Well, it just depends on how many questions there are. It's usually between 1.5 and 2.25 hours, somewhere in there.
Okay.
And I think in this class, I'm going to bring a lot of questions I had from before, if people don't ask questions, because this may be the last time I do this course. But you could always buy it, because it will always be there to have, and the recordings and all the materials and everything will be there.
Okay. And I have been scrolling the website to go to Dr. Dr. Lynne, Lynne Lafferty, LAFFERTY.com. Use promotion code Lynn.
Okay, I don't have an E on the bottom at my name. It's
Right.
Lynn, no E.
Exactly.
Okay,
And
sorry.
my name, Lynn, Lynne,
Right.
25 for your promotion code.
Yeah.
Yes. And I put on the ticker that it starts in September, but it's October 5th. You've heard us say that many, many times. So you can go to Dr. Lynn's website, get yourself signed up, or any of my websites. Actually, there's contact information, so you can always reach out and ask me questions too. So thank you so much, Dr. Lynn Lafferty, for being on today. Very enlightening. We have a few thousand people watching. God bless you all. I've seen the comments. People are saying hello, reposting. Just God bless everyone for watching. And until next time, this is Lynne Scott Haggerman. And on my podcast, Truth is Rising, and so are we.
Light breaks the shadow of the weary heart. Truth cuts the dark like a flaming dart. Voices rising strong to lift the call. This is the time.